Magandang araw, magandang gabi, magandang umaga, wherever you are, Filipino or our international friends. Welcome to our Power Thinks, hoping that we are all pushing our brains and our appreciation of the world to the limit, to know and to understand what is going on, that we may be guided and that we may guide our fellow citizens of the world towards the best direction for humanity. Medyo dramatic ang intro natin, ano? But that is the sole purpose we get together discussing these issues. No? Let me just check who is with us. Julie Merano. Julie. Maaga-maaga si Julie. And we have a date including our other OFW and Filipinos abroad who come in December. We'll get to meet, kahit papano, we'll find a way to meet. Just get in touch with us when you're home already. Romel Besana is with us, very, very early din. And then Ju Channel PH. Magandang naputol yung kanyang message. Sony, SONNI, good evening to each one of us here. He's watching from Novaliches, Quezon City. Berna, magandang gabi daw. No? Thank you, Berna. Pinay Paparazzi is with us. Nenita Arago is with us. And Kaana will join us a little later. Okay. Si Lori Mamawag. Tama, no? Mamawag. My favorite channel. Dami kong natututunan, sabi ni Lori. Good evening, Lori. Carlos Jomar Lim, Jomar Lim, boy, si Ka Mentong, and everybody of course here with us. And si Pinay Paparazzi is also mumati na kasi si Judy kay Pinay Paparazzi. Florence is here with us. Saan ba to? YouTube ba to? Or FB? And good evening po. Sali po ako sa Wheel of Wisdom. Kung meron today. Well, we still have, of course, the book of Kaado. Kay Kaado, vaccine book.
No. Yung ano po, you still have to electric fans.
Electric fans. May dalawa dyan. May apat pa ata dito. Tonight, electric fan ang i-raffle natin.
Yeah, we can.
Kasi mabawasan galing kay Jerry, Mr. Jerry, who does not want his family name mentioned. So, okay, today, yung LED fan po. Willie Tang is already with us and sabi ni Florence, tanggap po pala ng anak ko sa Baguio, a problem for every solution. Salamat po sa libro. Nasa amin na po yung libro ni Kaado, No Vaccine for Racism. Dinala mo na dito noong June na nagbakasyon ako. Sabi niya, okay. So nanalo na ng 2 libro si Florence. Mukhang may library na si Florence ng aklat ni Kaado. Oo. And si AJ, anong napanalo mo? Yung kay Mauro Samonte.
Yes po, pati yung kay Opo.
Pati yung
Yung kay Kato, binigay niya lang po pala yun.
So how's your impression of the 2 books? How far have you gone in any one of the books?
Few pages pa lang, sir, yung kay Kato kasi may na-handle din akong everyday show, so di ako gano'n nakapagbasa.
Yeah. Okay, take it easy. Okay, and BJ Joaquin is with us and greeting everybody. Okay, anong top of the mind mo ka, AJ? Anong concern mo today sa mga balita at mga nangyayari?
Well, ang reason ko lang po kasi na today, related din po sa isa nating topic is yung na-lift, according po sa camp ni VP Lenny, na-lift naman na daw po ng COA yung notice sa disallowance nila for hiring legal consultants.
Yeah. Mamaya we'll talk about it.
Few hours ago lang.
I've been a consultant since in different government offices since 1986-87. But I've never gotten 175,000 sa consultancy. I was also a consultant sa office of Senator Trillanes when he won as senator. I was getting 25,000 a month, which I think is more or less acceptable for a consultancy because you're only called, no, when you're needed. Maybe you report once a week just to signify that you're regularly reporting. Then you make reports, you make papers, essays to advise and so on. But meron ding isa na binigyan ni Trillanes na 175. Sa duda na ako noon talaga whether that's justifiable. Pero I think it's done by very many offices, no? Lalo na sa Senado.
Yung ba yung driver niya?
Ano?
Yung ba yung driver ni Trillanes?
I don't know eh. I don't know.
Joke
Tagal na yun.
only. Joke only.
Yeah. Well, of course, you can always suspect that it really goes to the boss, no? Yung mga malalaking ganyan. But you don't really want to know when you're in that same office. No? That's why tama yung kay article ni Kado, which we'll discuss later. Although hindi ko pa nakita sa post sa Asian Century Journal that the resizing should start at the top. Lalo na sa Senado. We have to remove the Senate. That wastes several billions of our resources every year. Kado, what's top of the mind today?
Well, I was just browsing through itong mga false flags ng US tungkol sa Taiwan. Iba sinasabi nila, iba naman ang nangyayari din sa Saudi Arabia, which is kahiyahiya, talagang kahiyahiya na ang mga Amerikano. Garapala na talagang, at saka pinapakita na ng ibang bansa sa kanila na hindi na sila relevant. I think we will also discuss that today.
Yeah, it's in the latter part of our discussion. Si Myla Adarna is with us. BJ Waken is bumabati pa. Let me see. RS Fidel is with us from Nueva Ecija. BJ Waken. Dante Sumawang. Good evening. Sa wakas, nakapanood na uli sa inyo, sabi ni Dante Sumawang. Myla Adarna is with us. Pinay Paparachi, good evening. Lori Mamawag, joined din siya sa ano. Si AJ, may special na bati kay BJ Waken. AJ, good evening to you also. And ayun, bati din si Julie Merano. Good evening too, AJ. Pinay Paparachi, kay AJ din bumabati. Okay. And BJ Waken Kaado's book is a very informative book. Yeah. Okay, and so we can start with our first topic this evening. Let me see, BJ. Okay, Joselito Argelius is with us. Okay, let's start. State of the Nation address this coming Monday. So of course, how many State of the Nation address? I had it recorded, but maybe it's not in this report. Pero higit 70 na ata mga State of the Nation. Ayun, 80 SONAs have been delivered thus far. For more on the history, anyway, I cannot of course reproduce the entire report, but 80. Yung kay Aguinaldo during the Malolos, anong tawag nun? Malolos Congress, it was not a SONA, it was just a ceremonial greeting, and so on. But I don't know if it's included in the 80 na State of the Nation address. It wasn't called SONA at the time. So on the day of Monday, it will be the 81st SONA of a President of the Republic of the Philippines. In the past few years, I had grown to be disgusted with our SONAs. Walang yung mga narratives, yung mga narrations, annotators, commentators, walang pinag-usapan doon sa kanilang mga nakikita doon sa SONA, kundi how many applause ang narinig nila. Tapos, sinong may pinakamagandang terno sa mga congressmen and congresswomen and senators, ano, and so on. Ang SONA na talagang seryosong SONA ay yung SONA ng China every year. Ano? They don't call it State of the Nation address, but that is their SONA. Si Xi Jinping would talk 2 hours, report in every field.
Report card. Report card talaga.
Report card talaga. So, seryoso. At 2 hours, hindi siya pupunta sa CR to jingle. Walang tatayo, walang tumatayo sa how many delegates doon. Talagang planado nila, pati yung pag-CR nila, planado nila, disiplina, nakakaya kung tumayo sila bigla sa napakalaking hall. That is the State of a Nation address of a serious nation, of a serious country. Well, let's move on and then we go back as you wish to comment on this or that. Ano? Ito yung nabanggit ni AJ na yung COA flag Robredo's OVP for unnecessary of private lawyers, consultants. Actually, marami sa mga consultants ay mga ano lang yan, mga sinecure, mga honoraria na wala naman talagang pangangailangan. Again, this calls for the downsizing of the top, not the bottom. I'm not saying, of course, AJ knows the bureaucracy more than me. There are many hangers-on sa baba, but at their low salaries and the needs in their families and their lives, that's okay already. Because I am of the thinking that the trickle-up economy is better than the trickle-down economy, which does not trickle down. Sabog mo lang yung binhi at fertilizer sa lupa, doon lalabas ang halaman at bunga. But if you throw, yes, Ka.
Bottoms up, Ka Mentong.
Bottoms up, oh. And so, anyway, we can go back. Let's go by sets of 3. Ito naman yung foreign interference, UN to Marcos, top crackdown on press freedom. They know nothing. Again, mga top people ito ng mundo natin. Wala din ginagawa ito, naghahanap ng magagawa para masabi malaking sweldo nila sa UN justifiable. Ano? So, let's start with the 3. Your reactions, Kaado and AJ. Youth before age muna ngayon.
Yes, for the first topic, yung State of the Nation address, which will be on July 25, Monday. Of course, a lot of us are parang very interested and in tune talaga sa kung ano man yung sasabihin ni PBBM, because this will set the tone for the rest of his term. Especially, alam naman natin gaano karami yung naging detractors niya during the campaign season, and right now na he's just into few days of office. Yeah,
and I think we will get a lot of wisdom from Kaado dahil he has been observing these zonas for many years. No, Kaado?
Oo, yung iba masyadong dramatic na wala namang actually naglalagay din ng handle sa public relations. Ang pinaka-corny dyan, ang tanda-tanda ko, yung mga backup papel, Gloria, makapag-alaro yun. Hindi ko makalimutan yun.
Tama.
Para ba, Sus Mariosip naman.
Andali, naalala mo ba yun, AJ, or you're too young?
Too young pa po.
Kwento mo, Kaado muna. Kwento mo. That's the purpose why we want the younger audience, so they pick up from the history that we know.
But anyway, sagawa daw sila ng wish list ng mga bata, tapos pinold nila ng papel at nilagay nila sa tubig, pinaanod nilang gano'n, ano ha? Masyadong overacting.
Melodramatic.
Melodramatic na hindi actually, ang mainit na gustong malaman ng mga tao doon ay kung saan dinala yung almost 400 million pesos na order ng fertilizer funds na napatunayan na puro ghost deliveries. Doon din na uso yung return to sender, no? Papadala ng Malacanang sa baba sa mga congressman, kukuha lang ng share nila yung mga congressman, tapos ibabalik uli sa itaas. Yun yung return to sender, ibabalik uli sa Malacanang. Ang balita was, nag-iipon si Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo ng war chest for the 2004 elections. And so they were using government money for that. Naging relevant sa akin yan because consultant ako noon ni Luisito Lorenzo, the best secretary so far outside during from yung 30 years, no? I would say even during the 30 years, 36 years. After the EDSA revolution, the best agriculture secretary. Why do I say so? Because we achieved 83% self-sufficiency in food security. 83% during that time. 97% sufficiency in rice. And about, I think, 83% sufficiency in mais. So I will repeat, no? I will correct myself. 87% sufficiency total, kasi 2.9 lang ang national production average na agriculture, historical, up to year 2002. Pero nung 2003-2004, yung 2.9 na yan nag-hit ng 8.7%. And that record is unequal pa up to now. In fact, we have a shortage ngayon. So ito ang marami, no? Doon sa zona na yon, na tinawag ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo na GMA, Ginintuang Masaganang Ani, no? And after her name. But part of this also were whistle-blown corruption charges against ghost deliveries of fertilizers, missing hog dispersal budgets, at irregular purchase of mga patrol boats na pag tumakbo ng more than 10 knots ay lumulubog. Imbis na nagiging submarino. So, marami mga kalokohan doon sa Agriculture Department.
Oh.
And I think there were also a lot of this repeated. Unwitting, I think it was unwitting on the part of President Duterte that many people were repeating mga gimmicks na ganyan during the term of the past president.
Kaado, if I may add to the story of the Bangkang Papel, tatlong bata yan sa, I think, one of the squatter areas, no? Na ginawang poster boy ng administration ni Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo, and eventually, before them, in the 1990s, si Ramos naman may Mang Pandoy. May Mang Pandoy na mahirap na tao at kanilang ginawang poster boy din ng administrasyon ni Ramos na gustong nilang sabihin na ito ang pangarap na i-fulfill nila na umasenso. Eventually, itong si Mang Pandoy naging consultant sa office ni Joe de Venecia. I don't know kung 175,000 ang consultancy fee every month. But these are just poster boys that they set up propaganda. What is the actual truth that FBR did during the Ramos administration? The worst that he did was privatize the oil companies, Petron, and so on. The second worst, equally worse pala is, let me add, equally worse is the signing of the power purchase agreement. This is important kasi I'm sure hindi pa alam ni AJ ito and the other young people. They created under,
Yung tatlo na yon were boys that were 2001 yun nagkaroon ng garbage slide,
Mm.
yung payatas,
Mm.
yung bundok ng basura, gumuho.
Gumuho.
So ang dami namatay, no? At ginamit tatlong batang ito para isulat ang kanilang mga aspirations sa buhay, no? At sitwasyon. At pinaanon nila sa Pasig River, hoping na makarating daw sa Pasig River banda ng Malacanang, makarating sa Pangulo.
Yan.
Very touching, di ba?
I'll go to GMA in a while, because that is the bangkang papel, yung drama na yung panahon ni GMA. Yung panahon ni Ramos, si Mang Pandoy. So, naging propaganda yan si Mang Pandoy na sama sa SONA speech yata. But the poster boy for the hopes and dreams of the poor, Mang Pandoy, died a pauper on August 28, 2008 due to tuberculosis. His family did not even have 14,500 pesos to bury him. Yan ang totoo sa mahihirap sa bahay. Nandito na si Ka Ana. Maestra Ana, bati ka. Maraming bumabati sa iyo.
Maraming salamat. Maraming salamat po. Tapos good evening po. Sorry, na-late na konti. Alam nyo naman, mommy ako. Nag-prepare muna ng food for the kids. Tapos na sila kumain. So I'm free.
We really want to give more time to Maestra Ana. She has been so busy and she wears so many hats. We should give her a bit more leeway for all these activities. But we were talking, I don't know if Ana, if you remember Mang Pandoy.
Ha?
Do you remember Mang Pandoy?
Hindi po ata.
State of the Nation address ni
Bata pa yan,
Fidel Ramos.
Medyo bata pa po ako.
Oo nga. Hindi lang medyo, bata ka pa noon. Talaga bata ka pa rin ngayon.
Oo, sa high school ata or fourth year high school ako.
1990s yun eh. Yung bangkang papel. Hindi mo rin naalala.
Kaninong
kay Gloria Arroyo, kay GMA.
Medyo naalala ko siya pero wala ako dito sa Pilipinas naman. Sorry.
Mga inarte ng politiko.
So si Mang Pandoy died a pauper. Although naging consultant siya ni Joe de Venecia at the height of the publicity. Ginawa siyang consultant. But in the end, he died very young, I think in his 40s. And he did not even have the 14,500 pesos to bury him, the family. So ganyan ang bulahan sa ating sistema, sa ating kampanya.
Hi, AJ.
Ayun, si AJ.
Good evening po.
Good evening. I'm happy to see you.
Yung tatlong mga naman bata na galing sa garbage. Nakapag-aral naman, na scholarship and so on. But I was telling you, the worst thing that Ramos did, sa kabila nitong mga propaganda about how good they will be to the poor, si GMA naman, si Ramos of course signed the PPA where he contracted megawatts of power to companies that did not exist yet on the promise that magtatayo sila ng kumpanya. This is for the benefit of Ana and for AJ. So many of them put up plants but never ran their plants. But we had to pay. We, taxpayer, had to pay them the contracted price that Ramos. Some of them earned billions without setting up a real serious power plant. And si Gloria Macapagal-Arroyo naman, totoo. Nabigyan ng scholarship ng mga bata. At least mas organized naman yung reality ni GMA. But GMA signed the privatization of the Electric Power Industry Reform Act, which is the privatization of all the energy, the entire energy sector, which to this day is a major economic problem of the country.
Kaya hanggang ngayon Ka Mentong, parang yung pasok niya ng mga referral katulad ni
Lotilia.
Ni Aboitis, no?
Mm.
Para proteksyonan yung mga investments nila mag-asawa sa power industry kasi one of the major stockholders ng Meralco yung mag-asawang Mike at Gloria Arroyo eh. Ngayon, yung kaya naman, it has to be explained yung power supply agreements,
Power purchase agreement.
power purchase agreement na kaya magtayo lamang ang babayaran ng gobyerno, hindi yung actual na binibili ng consumer na kuryente, no? Kaya ewan ko kung yung mga tao nag-adulate na kay Fidel Ramos na yan, ewan ko kung saan gagaling eh. Ang pinababayaran ng kontratang pinasok niya, yung kapasidad. So kung may kapasidad na palagay na natin na 100 megawatts, no? Pero 20 megawatts lang ang binibili, ang gobyerno binabayaran yung buong 100 megawatts.
Now, one last...
Paparusa ng mga tao niya sa ano. Tapos may isa pang ginawa si
Ramos?
Tabako kung tawagin.
Tabako.
Akala mo naman kung sinong gwapo, mukhang isdang, hindi maintindihan. Mukhang daga. Anyway, isa pang kalokohan yan, yung ano ba yun? Yung sa Bases Conversion Development Authority. Nawala yung 30 to 38% na share ng military para sa modernization. Nawala. Pero natayo ang BGC, at yung Newport sa Villamon, ayan, yung Newport na yan is actually Ramos City yan eh. Ewan ko kung saan sa mga building dyan may shares of stock. Ilang kickback.
Kasi yung BGC ngayon, dati military camp yan. Camp Bonifacio, di ba? Fort Bonifacio. Binenta yun para modernization ng AFP. Pero hindi ka nagkaroon ng modernization. Well, so, and there was another important point. Now, why is the Aboitiz name so controversial sa energy? And why are there people the ones getting appointed? Because when Cory canceled the BNPP, nagkaroon nga ng power shortage, Cory also privatized the National Power Corporation and nilagay si Ernesto Aboitiz, he passed away already, as the head of the National Power Corporation. Lalong lumala, it was called the Dark Ages in the Philippines kasi ang grabe talagang blackouts. You cannot imagine what we suffered. Every household that could afford had to buy a home generator. Yan ang
halos 100% ng generator was being imported by
Aboitiz. That's why Aboitiz was called the Prince of Darkness at that time by the media. Anyway, so you have a background. Why we, Kado, and our colleagues have been fighting this power privatization at these oligarchs all this time. How many years na yan? 1985 1987, 88 na appoint si Ernesto Aboitiz. Over 30 years na, no? But anyway, we have to move on. But any comment from AJ and Kaana dito sa aming historical narration?
Ako na, ang naalala ko po dyan talaga, since kahit na nung nasa high school ako niyan, ng time na, high school pa kasi ako niyan, nung panahon ni Ramos, nung nag-start siya eh. Pero ang alam ko, ang mga privatization ng karamihan ng ating government institutions, lalo na sa power, sa water, I think, nagsimula sa panahon ni Pangulong Ramos, former President Ramos. Diyan talaga yan. Tapos parang tuloy-tuloy na. Pero of course, yung initial na mga galawan ng privatization sa panahon ni Cory. Nung panahon kasi 1986, I was only 6 years old or 5. But I was aware of, I was aware already about things kasi nasa rally ako ng time na yun eh.
Ibig mo sabihin, Kaana, 6 years old ka na, hindi ka pa aktivista?
Na-aktivista na nga pa ako yung 6 years old data kasi alam ko sa probinsya.
Rizal Tiberos daw, 6 years old, aktivista na raw siya. Mention na niya yung ano ba yun?
Sumali na siya sa EDSA 1.
Hindi, yung 1972. Ano tawag?
Oo.
First quarter storm.
First quarter storm, oo. Ang alam ko, basta ang naalala ko, mga 5 or 6 ba ako nun, nagrarally yellow at saka red. At saka yung symbol, laban na ganyan, at yung
Laban.
ganito. Oo, tapos snap election. Mga nagraraling tao, syempre, ang panahon na yun, ang ano is, ano daw, di ba, laban-laban. Tapos Ferdinand Marcos was, running for snap election. Doon natalo man si Cory actually sa election na yan. Alam ko, nasa plaza namin sa probinsya, nagrarally. 2 faction, no? Tapos ako nasa gitna ako nung plaza. Tapos parang siguro kasi bata pa, parang nag-iisip siguro ako, bakit ba itong mga to nagsisigawan diyan? Pero nakikirali din ako.
Si AJ, nakita na kaya ang nanay at tatay mo noon? Nagkakilala na?
But wala pa.
Hindi pa po, sir. Hindi pa.
Okay.
1990s pa.
Oh. But yan ang nais namin na maiwan na alaala about history nung panahon na yon, and kung bakit kalaban ng bayan ang mga oligarchs. Sila ang sa likod nung Kaana, go ahead.
Ako naman, ang naman dyan, kahit nung high school ako, elementary, kasi very politically active lang talaga ako na bata siguro. Totoo naman yun talaga. Ang oligarchs naman talaga ang kalaban ng mamamayang Pilipino at ng Pilipinas. Totoo naman.
I want to add this because we will discuss it again later. Di ba galit tayo sa mga middleman sa gulay, sa Baguio, bababa dito, dadaan sa middleman na tumataas ang presyo. Bigas may middleman, issue laging middleman. Diba? Pero itong mga oligarchs, middleman lang ito ng kuryente, langis, gas. Silang ahente actually. Because we did not have them mediate between supply and delivery to the people before in kuryente when it was government-owned. No?
Kung talagang magaling yung privatization, bakit pagka nakakaroon ng extraneous demand to raise capital, hindi naman nagre-raise ng capital ng mga yan at kumukuha ng pera para doon sa differential ng dapat nilang gastusin, itinataas nila through provisional price increases ang rates sa taong bayan nila kinukuha. Akala ko ba privatization? Ginagatasan lang tayo ng mga yan eh.
Yeah.
Niluluto tayo sa sarili nating mantika. There is no real privatization in this country.
Let's move on. It's 6:35. And the other topic, of course, we have just mentioned is the UN message to Marcos, stop crackdown on press freedom. We can comment on that. And this one, itong yung ICC issue ni Risa Hontiveros, mandato pa rin ng ICC na investigahan ang mga paglalabag ng karapatang pantao, blah, blah, blah. But ano mandato ng Pilipinas, ng leadership ng Pilipino?
Mali siya doon sa mandato na sinasabi niya.
We'll go back to Kaana. Yung mandate, of course, in our Constitution is an independent foreign policy. The ICC is a creation of some bureaucrats in the UN and in Europe. It's actually a European creation to use against the independent states of Africa. Anyway, it's rejected by many African countries. Let's go to Kaana dito sa kanyang reaction dito sa Risa Hontiveros statement.
Ang tawag na misleading ang statement ni Senator Hontiveros. Senator pa naman siya, dapat mag-ingat siya sa kanyang sinasabi. No, kasi it reflects kung gumagawa ka lang ng propaganda or nag-uudyok ka lang ng tao or talagang ini-inform ng tao kung ano talaga. Hindi mandato ng ICC ang mag-investigate ng hindi niya yun inherent na mandate. Ang ICC, yes, ang kanyang pinaka-core na gagawin is to investigate and to trial if in any case pag na-prove sa investigation ang tinatawag mong crimes against humanity. But ICC will only have a jurisdiction over a state if the state allows it and if the state is a member of that ICC. Ganun yun. Even if the state is a member, kung ang state is not a failed state and the judiciary and the justice system is functioning very well, then the ICC will not interfere dapat. Kasi yun ang complementary principle na sinasabi. Now, kaya nga may argument tayo. We're not anymore part of it. So wala siyang jurisdiction na sa atin. Pangalawa, ang ating judicial system is vibrant. May mga independent courts tayo. Bakit? Hindi ba nagpa-function ang gobyerno natin? Are we like Sudan? Of course not, 'di ba? It's not like that. So, ang sinasabi na jurisdiction ng ICC, mangyayari lang 'yan kung talaga ang halimbawa isang bansa, walang nangyayari diyan. Hindi kaya ng independent courts or ng courts nila na i-trial or mag-conduct ng investigation. And that's not the case of the Philippines. Kaya dapat ipaliwanag niya ng mabuti ang kanyang mga sinasabi. Hindi yung ganong ka-sweeping na alam mo na, ma-misinterpret yan ng ibang tao. So yun yung sinasabi ko.
Ana, tanong ko
Opo.
lang. Ito ba mga special rapporteur na ito may item sa UN?
Wala yan. They are not really, ang UN rapporteur, it's just like,
Parang consultant ba sila?
parang consultant yan, oo. Pero they are serving the UN in a special capacity. They're not even paid by the UN. Parang volunteer work yan. They don't have plantilla position in the UN system. Ganun ang pagkakaintindi ko ng rapporteur. Though they are what you call very influential to certain extent kasi nga ang tawag sa kanila, they are expert in a certain field na kung saan may binibigyan sila ng a little of leeway to do some investigation or to comment on certain things because of their expertise. Pero hindi yan plantilla position ng UN system. Parang consultant na hindi consultant yan kasi wala namang bayad dyan sa kanila.
So pwedeng like in the case of Maria Ressa, pagka nako-comment sila kay Maria Ressa, maaaring nasa payroll sila ni Maria Ressa, nasa payroll naman si Maria Ressa ng Umidyar Network. At ang Umidyar Network, kumukuha naman ng pera sa Official Development Assistance o USAID. Pwede bang magkaganon yan?
Oo naman, may mga possible kasi wala naman independent body ang rapporteur mo, hindi naman yan nasa talagang part and parcel of the UN system na alam mo yun na official ka ng UN, hindi nagiging siya by virtue of the fact na may specialty siya dyan sa issue na yan or sa halimbawa torture, human rights and blah blah blah, pwede. Pero at the end of the day, ang lang yan, kaya lang siya nagiging sikat in a way, it's precisely because nakakabit sa kanya ang word na UN. Pero actually, hindi yun binding. Hindi ibig sabihin na sinabi niya, totoo yun or binding na yun. No, it's just, lang yun, kanyang opinion yun. Opinion siya na sinasabi ng tinatawag mong UN rapporteur or whatever.
Opinion yan o pwede rin maging hanap buhay yan?
Pwede rin.
Yung mga political institutions ng UN, of course the UN is a political institution also.
Yes,
have been deeply influenced by the Western powers, and the ICC was a creation outside of the UN, which was only adopted by the UN. Kaya tama si Kaana. And in the 2000 second decade of the 2000s, particularly mga 2016 to 2019, very controversial din sa Africa dahil naramdaman ng Africa na puro Afrikanong mga leader na pumapalag sa Europa at sa Amerika ang pinoprosecute. And the same thing in the Balkans, where Milosevic was prosecuted by the ICC.
Parang racist ang dating.
So many countries like South Africa withdrew from the ICC, but may mga galamay yung mga Western powers. So yung Supreme Court ng South Africa rejected the rejection of the government ng ICC and so on and so forth. Parang dito sa atin, na may mga gustong sumama tayo sa ICC dahil mga bata sila ng Amerikano, merong tulad ni Duterte na umalis na. So the question for us is, what position should we take? If we're truly independent, we shouldn't be part of such organization.
Hindi na tayo part ng ICC, matagal na. 2019 pa, March 17, 2019, I think.
And I think let's go to the youngest, one of the youngest members pala natin, si AJ. Ano reaction mo rito, AJ?
Yes po, yung regarding sa ICC na they wanted to probe into the drug war na nangyari po under the Duterte administration. If I remember correctly, yung isa sa mga regional engagements namin yan with PRRD, I think it was in Cebu, na sabi niya, bakit daw ba itong mga to gusto na lagi siya dalhin sa international court? Working naman yung mga local courts natin, yung judicial system natin dito. Tapos sabi niya, saka isa pa, if they're asking why the number of yung mga
Casualties.
casualties na dahil dun sa drug war niya program, bakit tumaas? Ang sabi naman ni PRRD, paano hindi tataas? Kasi for the previous administration, the president isn't even backing up yung mga security forces natin to do their job. So sabi niya, since fully sinusupport niya ang AFP, ang PNP, sinasabi niya, just do your job, ako bahala sa inyo. And then, they just did their job na, di ba kita naman po natin yung mga nag-surrender, as in, grabe, ang dami.
Million, wow,
Yeah.
1 point something million. Oh.
Yeah.
Ang problema kasi dyan, ang ano nila dyan, kung titignan mo yung tulad ng ICC, kung sino ang kalaban ng Western, well, the United States and its allies, kung sino ang dinidemonize nila, siya din ang titirahin ng mga ganyang international institution. Hindi nyo nahalata. Diba?
Yeah.
Ganun yan eh. Halatado naman. The UN system is good. I'm not saying it's not. It's necessary, yes. But it's also a political. Okay? Political din yan. May mga branches dyan, may mga ano dyan na political. Tignan mo, ang UN and Human Rights Council or Commission nata, nagpunta sa Xinjiang, China. Nakita niya doon ang sitwasyon na it's not true. May mga, it's propaganda. To a certain extent, may mga realization siya. Pagbalik niya, nagsabi siya na ito yung kanyang realization, ito yung tingin niya, ito yung nakita niya, blah, blah, blah. Anong nangyari? Di ba dinemonize yung
Si Michelle Bachelet.
Oo, dinidemonize siya at kinikriticize siya ng Western countries. Kasi parang nagpa-uto daw siya. Ganito, ganyan. Tignan mo. It's ganun talaga siya. May ganun talagang political din sa international na level. Now, ang dyan is ganun ang sitwasyon. So nasa bansa na yon kung paano mo poprotektahan ang sovereignty mo. Kasi as a country, we are sovereign. Okay? If we don't want the ICC to get into the country to do whatever they want, then hindi sila pupunta dito. Kasi wala silang permission. At the end of the day, hihingi ng permission ang international organization, especially even the UN system, to get into the country. Ang pwede lang magkaroon ng yung talagang puwersahan na pwedeng pumasok dito sa Pilipinas ay ang United Security Council kapag ang mga member states niya, yung permanent members, will make decision consensusly. But hindi mangyayari yon because China is a friend of the Philippines and Russia is also a friend. Hindi papayag yung mga yan na matatrampo lang ating tinatawag ng soberenya.
Pero sa Estados Unidos, kung saan ginagawang target practice sa mga tao, ordinaryong civilian, ng kung sino-sino, wala nagre-reklamo.
Oo.
O, di ba?
Wala. Ang ginawa nila sa Afghanistan, wala.
More than 60,000 ang namamatay sa drug abuse sa US every year.
Oo, ang dami.
Wala nagre-reklamong Amerikano. Tapos, Amerikano mismo, umalis dito sa International Court of Criminal Court.
Hindi naman sila kasali.
Hindi naman sila kasali.
Binantaan ni Pompeo, if you remember, US State Secretary under Trump. Ang ICC, nakakasuhan nila yung mga huwes dahil gustong imbestigahan yung human rights violations ng US troops sa Afghanistan.
Yeah.
So you can see how partial and this whole thing is. Anyway, US is not part of it. Russia withdrew from it. China is not part of it. Why should the other countries be part of it who are not subject to being browbeaten by the Western powers?
Dapat pala ito si Risa Hontiveros, hindi pala dapat tumakbo si Nanduro dito. Dapat pala ito nag-special rapporteur sa United Nations. Masyadong malawak ang kanyang pananaw. No? Pati ang mandato ng ICC, pinakikialaman niya. Anong pakialam niya?
Di ata sa mag-qualify Kado.
She's supposed to represent the people of the Philippines at large as a legislator. Bakit itong ICC pinag-aabugasyan niya sa Senado?
Okay. Well, let's move on. We know the score now diyan sa ICC. We should not
At saka yung statement ng UN rapporteur na si Marcos parang putting pressure on President Marcos na wag daw yung crackdown against journalists and journalism or whatsoever. Sabi ko, ano bang crackdown pinagsasabi mo? Ang laya-laya naman ng mga ilan ba? Ay, Diyos ko Lord, mag-accounting kaya tayo ng ilan network ang nag-ooperate? Ilang newspapers ang nag-ooperate? How many reporters do we have? How many practitioners, media practitioners do we have? Hindi ba naman kayo dyan na mga taga-UN ewan ko na lang.
Yes.
Hindi na, yun na nga, ulit-ulitin natin yan Maria Ressa, ang problema niya is convicted siya ng criminal offense na cyber libel. Not because, it's not really about journalism per se, no? It's really about abuse ng kanyang pagiging journalist, no? Kaya siya, ang nag-file ng kaso sa kanya, private citizen, hindi state, okay? It's not even an official of government. It's just so happen na na-convict siya kasi bakit? Masyado din siyang arrogante. Bakit? Hindi siya nag-present ng defense. Kahit doon pa sa sa unang sa unang sabak sa kaso, hindi siya nagpresenta ng defense niya. Bakit? Kasi feeling niya he's like, feeling niya siguro ang galing-galing niya at ang popular niya na hindi niya kailangan. Di syempre makukonvict ka. Ngayon, problematic ka. Ano naman ngayon? Diba?
Si Ka Joshua has joined us, so I'm sure he's interested in this issue. Ka Joshua.
Yeah, adding to that, sinasabi is crackdown on press freedom. Pero nakita naman natin each and every day lahat ng ginagawa, lahat ng paggalaw ng Marcos government ay kine-criticize. Ultimo yung pag-release ng number of PNP na involved sa SONA. Pinukumpara yung PNP of other of SONAs of other presidents. Parang lahat ng galaw na lang, bawat isang galaw na lang, puro criticism sa government, puro criticism sa Marcos government. Hindi mo masasabing mayroong crackdown on press freedom kung yung mga kaso ay tama si Ma'am Ana, kung yung mga kaso ay personal, yung personally filed cases ng mga private individuals. Yun po yung wala pong crackdown on press freedom. Yun po yung this is connected din po sa ICC kasi pinapalabas nila na hindi gumagana yung court system dito. Samantalang dun nga makita private individual is going up against foreign funded mass media entity na billion-billion yung funding. Yun po yung kalaban po ng private individual na yan na sumagot nga yung Court of Appeals. I'm going to post this. Journalists are supposed to be reporters of facts, not fiction, and must be able to back up their stories with solid research. Yun po yung sinabi ng CA sa cyber libel conviction ni Maria Ressa. Got this from Reform Multimedia, no?
Yeah.
From friends of Ana. Pero yun nga, I would just like to highlight na people should not be just reading kung ano lang yung mga headline. Should read kung ano yung nasa likod.
Last comment on this topic kay Ana.
Habol ko lang. Ang mahirap kasi sa mga UN rapporteur na yan, ang hilig nilang pumoda. Alam mo, and putting everything as if they know everything. Saying something as if they know everything. Wala naman silang alam sa konteksto ng Pilipinas. Hindi rin nila alam kung ano totoong nangyari at kung ano nangyayari sa loob ng Pilipinas. So yun yung mahirap sa kanila. They feel na they know kasi dahil may expertise sila on that particular field or discipline, magsasalita sila dahil medyo may pangalan sila as if naman alam nila yung konteksto at totoong nangyari. That's misinformation and that's misleading statements. Before sila pumunta muna sila dito and tingnan nila ang sitwasyon kung mayroon nga bang crackdown ng journalists and press freedom. Diyos ko por santo. Lahat na lang nga ng tao dito nagsasalita at lahat na lang nga nagla-live sa Facebook, may mga program, ang dami-dami na. Anong crackdown ang pinagsasabi nitong rapporteur na to? Diyos
Okay,
ko.
sige. Si AJ, tango ng tango. Baka gusto mong dagdagan, AJ, go ahead.
Yes po, kasi as I read the article, another thing mentioned is yung request for NTC to restrict particular websites. So na-mention dito yung Bulatlat at yung Pinoy Weekly na this was clarified already by the former National Security Advisor, Secretary Hermogenes Esperon Jr. na this is not suppressing their free speech they're just restricting the access of these websites because they're promoting the armed struggle because of the particular article they published na supporting the ideology being propagated by the CPP and PNDF, which is again has been identified as a terrorist organization by several countries.
That's
So,
right.
yun po.
Yeah, okay, we have to move on, but that's an important point. No? Now, the next one is economics. Nomura forecast peso to depreciate 58 to $1. Well, there are winners tulad ng ating mga OFW na maraming taga-subaybay natin, mga OFW. Winners po sila dahil there will be more peso for their families here. But there are losers, are exporters, because of high cost of imports. Many industries rely on imports. They will have to close shop. Alam naman natin na unemployment is growing and so it's also a burden. But why are some countries not burdened by this? For example, China or Russia na target ng mga sanctions na nagdulot po nito mga problemang ito. Bakit Russia is not affected? In fact, its currency is stronger because of one thing, which I have been explaining for 3 of our sessions now. What is that? Currency and capital controls. I have reported to you that Russia imposed currency and capital controls kasabay ng kanilang special military operations in Ukraine dahil alam na nila financial attack ang darating sa kanila, which is what happened to Marcos several times, especially noong 1986. No? Yung manipulation ng Western powers ng ating currency by withdrawing their dollars and the peso had to go up very high and creating the economic crisis for 5 years from the assassination of Ninoy up to 1986. And in 1997-98, the Asian financial crisis, parehong pinaglaruan ng Western powers yan. You cannot defend against that. Only in 1997-98, only Mahathir imposed currency and capital controls. And Hong Kong, and both of them survived it very well. At walang epektong masama yung currency attack ng Bangkok and then the whole Asia. Of course, China always had the currency and capital controls, and they were not that affected also in 1998. Now it's important again to remind our people that in the period of President Garcia in the 1950s, he and of course panahon din ni Quirino, Garcia in particular imposed currency and capital controls. That is why the Americans supported with I think $200,000, which is a huge amount at that time, 1954, 55, when the exchange rate was $1 to 2 pesos, 2 pesos to $1. And so they supported Macapagal and natalo si Garcia. Anyway, that's a bit of history again. So currency and capital controls is something that we all have to study again, which is against the economic philosophy of the financial managers that have been appointed since after Marcos, the first Marcos, the entire period of the Yellows, and even si BBM. PBBM is also appointing them. Why he's doing so? Maybe he feels it's not ready to shake up the system so abruptly. Well, I don't know, but he knows his father's policies were there, and I'm sure he has thought about it. But there is hope. We will see later why there is hope. So anyway, one of the reasons why the Chinese yuan cannot be internationalized yet is because of their currency and capital controls. Kasi ayaw nila mawala ng control na yung exchange rate niyan will be subject to so many forces that they cannot plan their economy. Okay, I'll move on to, so this is a problem, but we can see the hope that I'm seeing is in this next news. Marcos mulls government-to-government deals to lower fertilizer cost. And dito po, gusto tayong tulungan, gusto tayong lapitan, di take advantage naman tayo, di ba? Sige, bigyan niyo kami ng fertilizer na medyo maganda-ganda ang presyo. They want to help, they want to approach us. We should take advantage, right? Sabi ni BBM ito, okay, give us fertilizer at a reasonable price. That's the whole point of government-to-government deals, Marcos said during his meeting with the Department of Agriculture officials the other day. government to government. No, now he has
Yes.
broken the taboo about government to government. Simula yan. That's why I'm saying there is hope that these economic managers' policies will not be followed strictly by BBM. Ano? Now, itong tinutukoy ni BBM is China and Russia because both China and Russia have the fertilizers. Ano? No other country have the supply that we need and can make commitments about the price na mababa. Again, I repeat, it's only Russia and China. Of course, Ukraine can provide it, but how can they provide it with these conditions that limits them? Ano? Yan po. Kaya sabi ko, sinimulan ng China, itong fertilizer, sinimulan ng China na fertilizer 50% discount. In fact, I've written 2 or 3 articles on this. Ano? But people don't see the significance of the fertilizer because without the fertilizer, you cannot boost your production. You cannot bring down the price of rice. So, ito ang isang signifikante sa mga unang resulta ng cabinet meetings at itong statement na to. But also, the principle behind this, of course, is the government to government because kanina I mentioned, why do we accept the middlemen in the big industries like electricity, water, and so on, transportation, telecommunication? Bakit dinadaan pa sa mga oligarchs when government can deal with other governments to provide these services, make a little margin for the state and the people also? Pinost po ni Ka ngayon yung mas magandang kanyang ginawa, Marcos Malls, government to government deals to lower fertilizer cost. Yeah. Okay, and before I asked for the analysis from our colleagues. I posted actually my 2 articles, Kaanos article. I could not find Kaados article to post yet, no? But ito po ay tungkol doon sa action nga ni Presidente PBBM tungkol sa Department of Trade at yung loans sa trains. I will not dwell too much on this. I'm sure you can react. And the interest rate na naging controversial, naging propaganda laban kay PBBM and laban sa China. But actually, when you convert the yen loans na sabi ng Japan 0.1%, 0.01%, and blah, blah, blah. When you convert it into dollar, napakataas pala tulad nung Japan loan equivalent fixed US dollar rate, na sabi ng Japan 0.08% interest rate. Pag na-convert pala to dollars 2.7%. So a lot of people who are against PBBM and against China, nung nabasa nila na Japan will impose only 0.05 percent interest rate dito sa train projects. Number 1, meron bang alok? Wala. Number 2, ano talaga ang interest rate? Doon lalabas na mga 3.7 to 4%. Yun hindi. If it's 0.05, no? Yeah.
Yeah.
No. And then let's move on para masama. So, I had that article. Please visit Asian Century Journal. You can find Kaados latest article there. Yung right sizing ng gobyerno dapat sa mga oligarchs, sa Senado pala, yun ang sulat ni Kaado. And Kaanas, a very extensive article we will discuss later tungkol sa maritime law and so on, di ba? Why the independent foreign policy is important, no?
Yes, and it's not enough to balance things.
Yeah, we'll go back to that after we discuss these points about government to government, fertilizer, and so on. Who wants to start? AJ?
Okay.
Si Kaana, sige, go ahead.
Yung G2G, gusto ko yan. I mean, very good news yan, G2G sa mga fertilizer. Kailangan natin yan kasi unang-una, ang focus ngayon natin is agriculture, palakasin ang agriculture, pababae, padamihin ang ating agricultural produce at para bumaba ang presyo lalo ng rice. So hopefully nga ay madaliin ito. Willing naman po ang China, ang alam ko from mga discussions na nakikita ko at naririnig ko rin sa mga think tank, tsaka sa mga counter friends natin sa China, willing talaga sila na tulungan tayo lalo na pagdating sa agriculture at magbigay ng very discounted na presyo. Ang Russia din, actually yun nga sinasabi ko, hindi lang usapin niya ng oil, gas, and diesel man yan or whatever. Pero ang Russia kasi is number one ata na producer ng fertilizer. No? So kung magbibigay sila ng concession sa atin, 50% discount, malaking tipid yan. So itong dalawang bansa na to, ito yung titignan natin at gawan natin ng magandang, bigyan natin ng halaga yung offer kasi ino-offer na sa atin, tatanggapin na lang. Huwag na tayo magpatumpik-tumpik pa. Pero ang ano ko sana is, isama na natin yung oil and gas dyan. Diba?
Yes.
Na G2G from Russia.
I think
Fertilizer nga eh. Diba? Kasama mo na yung oil and gas dyan kasi malaking tulong sa Pilipinas yan. Yun lang. Diba?
AJ,
Tapos,
yeah, go ahead.
sige, G muna. Mamaya na yung interest rates.
AJ.
Opo, yes, I think we could say naman na baby steps po ito na
G2G.
Ni G2G na ginagawa ni PBBM. And he's very focused nga with the boosting yung sa agricultural production, food production, especially with the possible food crisis for the next 2 quarters. So medyo marami din kasi nang nagkikriticize agad sa kanya. So wait po muna natin yung magiging progress since he's trying to address yung one of the most critical issues we're facing right now.
Yeah, Kaano, and then back to Kaano.
Ako, ayaw na ayaw yan G2G ng mga technical smugglers at saka ng mga importers ng mga pagkain. Yung kanilang negosyo, no? Hindi na bali magkanda dahop-dahop ang taong bayan. Tapos ito pang mga utang natin. Halimbawa, ginawang issue yung 3 tulay. Tinigil lang pala ang negosasyon kasi
3 railway project.
Management style, 3 railway projects, style ng governance ni Duterte, itigil muna at hayaan yung bagong administrasyon na magsimula ulit kung gusto nila. Ginawang issue pa itong interest na 3% daw ng
China.
Nitong ayaw daw pumayag ng China sa 3%. Samantalang kinukumpara pa kasi bakit? Mayroon daw mga cheaper loans na manggagaling from Japan and all that. Pero dito sa chart na pinakita rito sa ating audiovisual dito ay tama, no? Mataas nga yung 3%, pero dollar denominated yun. Yung palang maliit na 0.08% na sinasabi nila, kinukumpara nila apple to apple, oranges to oranges. Yen denominated pala yun, yen. So from yen, i-convert pa sa dollar, mas malakas ngayon ang dollar kaysa yen. So may lugi na ron ang yen. Tapos yung dollar, i-convert pa sa peso, mas malakas ang dollar ulit sa peso. So, meron naman depreciation ng peso doon. Kaya umaabot na ang effective cost ay mas mataas pa ng
7.7.
Ayan, tumataas pa ng lumalago pa ng mas lampas doon sa China. So, alam niyo mga kabansa, pagka mga nagsasalita ng ganyan ng mga tao, ito, napakalaking serbisyo ginawa dito sa chart na ito. Itong chart na ito, nanggaling ito kay sa
Department of Finance. Department of Finance ang nag-release RTVM, Radio Television Malacanang.
Radio Television Malacanang. So,
actually, nagsulat na ako, hindi ko lang ma-compute kasi hindi ko alam kung anong percentage talaga ng Japan yen loan, Pero nung sinusulat kong article ko, biglang Viber nga ito, ayaw ko sinong nagpadala sa akin. At isama ko na sa article. So yung mga nagmamagaling dyan, ay kita nyo, napakababang Japan, 0.01, 0.05%. Hindi nila alam, i-convert pa yan kasi ang China, nag-quote yan sa dollar rates. Dollar rates. So anyway, now malinaw na. Pahiya na naman yung mga bumabatikos. Kaana, your reaction to the interest rates?
Yeah, ayun na nga, tama kayo doon. Ang inaano kasi dito, kapag may mga ganyang usapin or pronouncement, halimbawa may nabasa ka sa dyaryo na, ganyan ka agad, huwag tayong mag-react. Tignan muna natin at busisiin natin yung issue, lalo na when you talk about these things. Kasi ito, hindi siya simple black and white eh. It's not like that. And hindi siya comparable in many sense. Like 0.1% denominated in yen, that's yen. And the Japanese currency is actually weak. It's one of the weakest at the moment kasi nga may sinasabi nga na under recession ang Japan. Tapos yun nga yung mga usapin na ganyan kasi ang hirap na ang bilis mag-conclude na okay, 0.1 and 3%. Oo nga naman, at face value sasabihin mo, mababa nga naman ang Japan. Pero kung titignan mo naman, kung i-convert mo nga yan i-convert from dollar to peso, baka lugi ka pa. 'Di ba? Kaysa doon sa China, at saka isa pa, ang issue kasi dyan sa railway projects na yan, it's not as if yun na yung rate na actual na kinuha natin. Hindi pa. Kasi nga, nag-withdraw tayo doon sa loan natin na application, tapos binibigyan tayo ngayon ng kalayaan, siguro ng previous administration na natin ulit, i-submit natin for loan, and then we negotiate. I-renegotiate mo siya or bagong negotiation ng current administration na parang sa perspective kasi ng China, ang percentage na yan or yung mga pinag-uusapang rates these are technicalities na pwede mong i-negotiate na baka bumaba.
Pwede
I-flex yan, depende na yan kung ano pang ibang component dun sa negotiation. Kasi ang interest is just one of the component ng mga pinag-uusapan sa isang project. Mayroon pa diyang iba, transfer of technology, saan manggagaling yung, halimbawa, sino ang gagawa niyan, mga Pilipino ba, or 50-50% ba na, halimbawa, Japanese or Chinese at 50%. Ganyan, maraming items eh.
Yeah.
Ang interest rates is just one. Tapos kung titignan mo, ang advantage mo dyan as a country, kung ikaw ang umutang, titignan mo ang kabuuan. Ang kabuuan ng nakuha mo at ang advantage na mapupunta sa'yo sa kabuuan ng kontrata. Hindi yung isang item lang. Dapat ganun.
Ang isang problema lang sa lahat na to, yung media at ilang politiko. Si Salceda, si Inday Salceda, Salceda pala. And si Rufus Rodriguez.
Isa pa yan.
Maghanap tayo ng ibang source ng funding, punta tayo sa Japan without knowing whether Japan will offer at all because the lending country also have many factors to consider. Kung yan kasama sa programa nila, kung may available funds ba sila, kung may long-term strategic plan ba sila in that direction.
Hindi naman fix yan, mga prevailing yan eh. Kung makakakuha tayo, halimbawa sa Malaysia, na mas mababa, o sa Singapore, o sa ibang bansa, hindi doon tayo magpunta. Kung may available funds in the first place.
Mukhang meron
ang importante dyan eh.
Mukhang meron talagang plano na gamitin lang yung pagkakataon. No? We don't know if si Cesar Chavez is part of a plan, but I examined his statements, mukhang hindi naman malinaw na sinabi niya na nag-withdraw ang Pilipinas. No? Mukhang ininterpret ng ilang media yan.
Meron pa akong dyan, additional info. May additional info ako very quick lang.
Sige.
Ang projects na sa ganyan kasi, halimbawa, institution ng Exim Bank of China, actually may prevailing rate talaga sila na interest na at market price. Pag sinabi mo kasi at market price, kung ano talaga yung totoo. Like, usually ngayon kasi, dahil sa pagtaas ng interest rates ng Federal Reserve ng United States, tumataas talaga ang interest rate ng lahat ng bangko. Even Asian Development Bank, even World Bank, and all of these things, tumataas. At market price, mataas talaga. Then, totoo yun. Like, mga siguro 5 or 6%. Alam niyo kung anong ginagawa ng government of China or Chinese government para mapapagbigyan tayo at talagang makatulong sila sa ating pinatawag na development at ating gusto na magkaroon ng economic development at magkaroon tayo ng social progress dito sa Pilipinas. Sinasubsidize ng Chinese government ang kalahati or even more than 50% dun sa interest rate at the market rate. So, dahil gusto nga tayo, kasi gusto nga nila mababa ang rate na ibigay sa atin. So, ang ginagawa ng Chinese government, sinasubsidize nila. Halimbawa, kung ang prevailing market rate is, halimbawa natin, sabihin na natin 5%. Yung 3% sa subsidize nila, 2% lang ibibigay na interest natin. So, kasi gusto nga nila tumulong kasi they say ang perspective kasi ng China for those people who are studying Chinese studies is ang perspective nila, we are also a developing country. Developing country kayo, magtulong-tulong tayo, pare-parehas tayong developer, para sabay-sabay tayong umangat. Ganun ang kanilang perspective. So, kapag nag-a-analyze tayo ng mga usaping ganito, you need also to take a look at how they think and how they, saan sila pumuposisyon, anong perspective nila, para maintindihan mo Marit, na maintindihan din natin as a country kung paano tayo mag-negotiate. At bakit ganon? Mahirap kasi yung tipong, pag 3% mag-rally na tayo, masama ang China, hindi sila kaibigan, ganon na, mga politiko ganon.
Okay.
Mga OFW, sanay na sanay dyan, lalo na yung mga nasa Japan Kasi traditionally, ang yen to dollar to peso conversion is isang lapad, 5,000. I mean, ang isang lapad, no?
Lapad.
10,000 yen yun yung isang lapad. Is equivalent to almost 500 pesos. Kaya pag 10 lapad, 50,000 pesos, something like that, no? Pero ngayon, lumalabas, nawawala ng 20% value ang yen pag kinumbert mo sa peso. Lumalabas, na lang dati 25, ngayon 20 na lang. Nawawala ng 20%.
Okay.
Kabisado yan ng mga OFW.
Yeah. So this discussion points out the importance of international relations natin, and the article of Kaan dito sa Asian Century Journal po natin is entitled "The Need for a Genuine Independent Foreign Policy in a Multipolar World." At the same time, isusunod ko yung item na susunod is from Global Times. BRICS will welcome new members to better represent voices of emerging market economies. Well, nagsasama-sama po ang mga major economies ng developing world sa BRICS: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. So Asia, Eurasian continent, Africa, nagbubuo po ng mas mabuting mundo. And so ano pa ba ang mga konektado sa BRICS? The Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. It started with 57 founding members in 2016. It now has 105 members. Ano pang bangko ng BRICS? Konektado sa BRICS, ito more directly impact the New Development Bank. New Development Bank updates. NDB enters 2022 in an expansion mode. Development Bank established by BRICS approved the admission of Bangladesh, Egypt, UAE, and Uruguay. So nag-expand din po itong New Development Bank. I think the New Development Bank has already extended $30 billion of loans to different developing countries for railroad, power systems, telecommunications. So development talaga. Mas malaki pa ang na-extend ng AIIB. It has developed a portfolio of 181 projects in 33 member countries with a total amount of $35.7 billion to date. So ito po ay tinayo itong mga institusyon na to na panghamon sa World Bank, IMF, ADB, yung mga yan, na napakaraming kondisyones para magpautang, privatization, mag-liberalize ka ng economy, i-privatize mo yung mga state industries po nyo. So yan po ang kaibahan po nitong BRICS Bank or the New Development Bank, AIIB, which is for genuine development. Go ahead, Kaana.
AIIB. AIIB.
Yeah, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank. Sorry.
Oo, ang kaibahan kasi ng ang kaibahan ng AIIB sa World Bank or ADB, no, in general, is it focuses more on infrastructure funding for developing countries. Talagang yun ang kanyang gustong, kumbaga, fill up niya yung gap ng World Bank at saka ng ADB. Kasi usually ang World Bank, ang mga pinupundahan niyan is yung mga tipong may human rights condition, yung mga social projects most of the time. So ang infrastructure, doon nagpupondo din sila pero hindi ganon kalaki ang portfolio ata. So AIIB is more on that, infrastructure talaga ang kanilang pinupundahan sa mga developing countries kasi infrastructure has been identified as kumbaga isa sa mga kulang sa mga developing banks, developing countries kaya hindi sila umuusad sa ekonomiya nila at sa development nila. So kailangan mo kasi ng infrastructure talaga para magkaroon ka ng vibrant economy. So yun ang niche ng EIIB. Ang maganda sa EIIB is tinitignan nila ang kakayahan ng isang country kung paano ka magbabayad. Hindi siya yung general rate all across. May negosasyon pa rin at the same time, ang alam ko dyan, ang maganda sa kanya din is long term ang bayaran, 20, 25. Tapos kapag hindi masyadong nakakabayad or may paghihirap makabayad or mahirap makabayad ang isang country na napautang, nagkakaroon sila ng yung parang nire-restructure yung utang. Tapos yun, tinatagalan ng bayaran. Para makabayad ka, hindi ka na magbabayad. Pero i-restructure nila, tatagalan nila siguro yung years para kumbaga, binibigyan ka talaga ng leeway at saka para makabayad ka.
Ang importanteng kaibahan, one, they do not demand privatization of your your industries. They don't demand liberalization of your economy. They don't demand deregulation. Kabaliktaran talaga nung ginagawa ng IMF, World Bank at ADB. AJ, any reactions? Kung wala na, I will move on to the article. In connection with these things, is the article of Kaana sa Asian Century Journal, the need for an independent, genuine independent foreign policy in a multipolar world. 5 minutes, Kaana, yung broad article mo.
Ang synopsis lang ng articles ganito, inumpisahan na ni Pangulong Duterte yung tinatawag independent foreign policy, naging transformative siya away from the existing, kung paano natin ginagawang foreign policy before sa presidency niya. So in a way, it was positive and kumbaga marami tayong nag-benefit tayo from that, no? Kahit papaano. Kasi ang ganda ng relasyon natin with China, wala tayong kaaway, kahit yung Amerika, inaano tayo, kumbaga inaatake si Bigong, but at the end of the day, walang gulo na nangyari. Still, kaibigan natin. Pero this time around, kung titignan mo talaga during that time, tama si Kaado kasi dyan balancing act yun. It's not really independent in many sense. Kasi bakit? Nandun pa rin ang MVP, andyan pa rin ang DFA, andyan pa rin ang EDCA. Siguro dito ang sinasabi ko lang, na-argue ko lang sa article is, siguro sa panahon na to, ni PBBM, siguro umpisahan natin na maging genuine ang independent foreign policy mo. So, ibig sabihin, tanggalin natin ang mga ties na ang umbilical cord, kumbaga, with certain superpower na natatali tayo at babaguhin natin ang framework lalo na when you talk about defense, security, and military. From alliances, let's go on military cooperation. Diversify din ang ating security relationship with other countries in Asia, like defense or military. We can have military cooperation with different countries in Asia, especially ASEAN countries. Huwag tayong matali sa isang country lang when you talk about these things. Kasi nagbabago na ang mundo. Ang mundo ay multipolar world na. Ibig sabihin, hindi na siya unipolar na may isa ka lang superpower. We have different powers already existing in different regions.
Okay.
And in our region, we have one or two. I think it's China and even India in a matter of time, mag-emerge din yan as a power. So ganun siya. So mag-adjust din tayo. Yun yung argument ng article. So please read and you learn more. To a certain extent, yun yung thesis niya.
So I will ask Kaado naman to give a gist of his article. But before that po, itong mga discussion natin in this part of our 2 hours focuses on our international relations, how important it is, and of course yung article ni Kaana. So we expand our discussions, unlike many other programs, puro domestic news and domestic controversies and so on. We always try to bring in the international aspect, no? Kasi kasing importante po ang politika ng mundo sa domestic politics natin, AJ, Kaado, no? So before we leave this part of the discussion, any reaction from AJ o Kaado?
Tuloy na.
Wala na, AJ? So let's go to the synopsis of Kaado's article on the resizing of the government.
Right sizing of government, ang title, must start with the abolition of the Senate. Yun ang aking posisyon. Simula ang presidente ng push for right sizing of all agencies, departments, and government-owned or controlled corporations with no exceptions, no? Ito para sa executive arm lang eh. But we should start with our fact legislature that has been causing the worst source of gridlock in governance. Nagiging masyadong obstructionist itong mga superstar natin, 24 na superstar natin sa Senado. Ngayon, kagibat dito, naglabas na ng DSWD ng 1.3 million families from Pantawid Pamilyang Pilipino program will no longer receive ayudas, and this is about 15 billion, no? Ang daming beneficiaries, no? Ikumpara natin to sa Senado. So 1.3 million na katao nakikinabang sa tatanggaling 15 billion sa DSWD. Ang total budget niya, for instance, noong 2022, in-increase pa niya ng 2 billion to 9.5 billion. Hindi pa kasama dito yung 8.5 billion sa construction ng 11-story towers located sa isang 2-hectare lot sa Navy Village sa Bases Conversion Development Authority dyan po sa BGC, no? Sa BGC. Yung ano dyan, sa Taguig Huyan, no? Bakit kailangan ganito? Kailangan ba natin ang upper and lower house pa? So
Yes.
Alam naman natin na ang kanilang mga priority ay hindi naman sinusunod. For instance, isa-cite ko lang itong napakamahiwagang ginawa ng Kongreso.
Nag-ahang.
Kalagit ay nagpasa siya ng isang batas, no? Na nagtatalaga ng prangkisa ng Bulacan Airport and Bulacan Aero City. Hindi na nga pinirmahan ni Presidente Duterte, nag-lapse into law. Tapos, nag-railroad pa ulit siya, no? Ng isang Bulacan Economic Zone and Freeport na adjacent dito sa Aero City project, pero binito naman ni Bongbong Marcos after his inauguration as President. Tapos, makakarinig ka rito kay Subiri na hindi raw prioridad ang charter change, ang system change, ang political reforms. Paano na-distinguish ang health and economic priorities? Mutually exclusive ba yan sa social and political reforms?
Kado, let us
segmented mag-isip itong mga taong ito. Hindi na tayo dapat umaano sa kanila, tumitingala sa kanila. Hindi mga ordinary. Tapos, dalawang Bilyar, dalawang Estrada, dalawang Cayetano. Aba, ano na yan? Ano na nangyayari dyan? No? May maligno na nangyayari talaga.
Well, Kado, very simple lang ang timbangan eh. 1.3 million people versus 24 people. Di ba? Tumatango si AJ, your reaction.
Wala po, grabe, parang I really find it ridiculous po talaga na magpapatayo ka pa ng ganun ka-ingranding building wherein a lot of your people are suffering, tapos you can do your job naman in a simple office, di ba? Nothing grand. So parang di ko talaga siya mag-gets ba't kailangan ng
Gusto ata nila AJ na maging tourist spot ang Senado. So pagkakitaan natin kapag natayo yan, gawin nating tourist spot, no? Napupunta doon nagbabayad para kung
Okay.
magkaroon naman ng income ang Pilipinas. Kasi hindi ko maintindihan why do you have to have that grand building?
Yeah.
Na ang opisina binagsasabi natin pwede ka namang magpatayo ng hindi ganun ka-grand or bakit i-renovate na lang nila kaya yung kanilang opisina ngayon,
Yeah.
di ba?
I'll just
Ka
add-
Joshua, go ahead.
Yeah. I'll just add to that, no? Kasi may personal experience din, no, sa House of Representatives, sa Batas ng Pambansa. Sobrang laking complex na yun. Sobrang ilang hectares na yung complex na yun. Ang dami-daming building na pwede na nandun na rin yung Senate. Pwedeng ipagsama yung Senate and the House. Pero with this plan of Kaado, I think Sandro is also right here. Meron kinood ni Kaado si Sandro na kaso yung problem kasi is yung cost ng building na yun is ilang billion, and then pinatuloy pa talaga within tuloy-tuloy sa pandemic, ilang billion yun, and then pwede naman din talaga sila sa House of Representatives para isang Congress.
At saka, Ka Mentong, itong Senado, inabolish na ito ng 1971 Constitutional Convention. Meron na talagang need. Noong pang 1971 na nakita mga 360 na elected convention delegates yan, Ka Mentong, elected, inalis nila ang Senado. At nagtayo na lang ng isang unicameral semi-parliamentary form of government. Kumpleto pa rin yung tripartite. Kaya lang, wala ng upper house. Kasi nga, tingnan nyo naman, pambira naman ito, 360 million ang budget kada isang senador, isang tao lang ang magdidesisyon kung saan pupunta yung 360 million.
Yeah, and Kaado, AJ, and everybody else, actually what the Senate is doing, we're doing better here in our discussion. Sila, may obligado pa sila sa mga amo nilang oligarchs and so on. Tayo wala, we're really free. And what we have been saying eventually is implemented. At tagal na natin sinasabi, ibalik yung government to government. Ngayon, nangyayari na. But the senators are against that because they're for the Western type of economics which is favorable to the oligarchs. No?
So, nagbalik ng Ka Mentong. Ang nagbalik niyan, mga Amerikano rin. Dahil inalis ng
1987.
After the end.
Ng 1987 COA Constitution niya.
That's right.
Okay.
Kaya nga, yun na nga sinasabi natin. Ang punto kasi dito, in principle, maganda ang right sizing or streamlining ng bureaucracy. Na sinasabi ni PBBM, wala akong dyan, kumbaga in principle, I don't disagree with it. Pero ang kasi doon, timing. Timing is important. Pangalawa, may clamor na sa Pilipinas na baguhin mo ang konstitusyon or at the same time, even the political structure. I-collapse mo nga ang legislative branch mo into one na unicameral ka na, then change the form of government into parliamentary para efficient tayo. Kasi ang pinag-uusapan kasi dyan, efficient and budget. Diba? Ganun yan, efficiency ng bureaucracy, effectiveness, and budget. So kung gusto mo talaga ng holistic na approach, ipusulong mo yung tinatawag na constitutional change. Nasa first year ka pa lang ng PBBM Mataas pa ang capital. Hindi yung, ang nangyayari kasi, ang executive branch, syempre, yan ang hawak niya, yun ang kanyang kayang galawin. Pero ang mas malaking chunk ng budget kung saan napupunta is sa legislative. Hindi lang yan usapin ng Senado, usapin ng Kongreso yan. Actually, for me, the way I see it, duplication of task yan redundancy ang dalawang branch na yan At saka alam mo, kung i-observe mo ang Pilipinas, ang isang batas sometimes na maganda, like for example, para sa bayan, no? tumatagal. Hindi na papasa ng ng 3 linggo lang o isang buwan na deliberation kasi bakit? Nagde-deliberate ang Congress, ipapasa sa Senado, magde-deliberate din sila. Pag hindi sila nag-agree, magtatagal, hindi na. Tapos ilang pera ang na-waste dyan. Ganyan yan di ba?
Kaya nga ako nagtataka sa inyo, Ka Mentong, ayaw niyong magkaroon ng NATO dito sa Asia. Meron ng NATO dito sa Pilipinas, meron ng NATO.
Ano yun?
Ano yun?
No action, talk only. Puro debate lang nangyayari dyan sa Senado na yan.
Ang ganyan ang nangyayari sa legislative branch natin ha. Like, ang isang magandang panukalang batas minsan, ang tagal maipasa. Bakit? Ang debate dito, gastos yan ha. Pagdating sa Senado, debate din. Tapos hindi nag-agree. Magbabay camp pa sila and all that. Diyos ko, my God, ang dami ng perang na-waste ng tao. Alam mo yun, pati pa yung mga tinatawag na investigation, di ba? Investigation on aid of legislation. Mag-investigate ang Kongreso, mag-investigate ang Senado. Pera din yan ang bayan.
Okay. Let me read
diba?
some reactions. No? Lawrence Halpin, sabi niya, malabo na kami sa LGU na mga casual. Lalo-lalo na ang mga regular. So meron sa mga audience natin na nangangamba na. Ano?
Oo.
Yung mga senador, nakaipon ng 100 milyon yan. I tell you, they're super rich already, these senators. But these people, sabihin natin merong mga idle casual workers and so on. But those are small, those are peanuts, and that's important for the life and survival of the small families. Sipin mo 1.3 million. Samantalang ito 24 individuals lang.
At saka tignan mo, Ka Mentong, just take a look at the composition of the Senate. Take a look at it. Yun palang isang reason na for it to be abolished. Take a look at the composition ng Senado. May Lito Lapid ka dyan. O may ganito ka dyan. May ganito. Mahirap magpangalan pero alam na natin yan, diba? Obviously, diba?
Okay. Well, we have to move on. No? And so we got the gist from Kaado, and we discussed the BRICS, AIIB, we discussed the New Development Bank. Ito po ang mga acronyms at mga pangalan ng mga international banks that will replace IMF, World Bank, ADB in the decade ahead. Yan po ang makikita po ninyo itong ulitin ko, BRICS Bank or New Development Bank, AIIB, and of course the organization BRICS, which is accepting more and more members now. So there's also a question here sa financing down. Anong palugit ng interest rate? What is the grace period for these loans? Well, what I know from the Chinese loans is 5 to 7 years. Depende sa negotiation.
Sa nakita ko doon sa Kaliwa Dam at saka yung Samal, Davao Samal is 20 years, I think. 20 years ang grace period.
Hindi grace period yun, yung repayment terms. Pero yung period na walang interest rate,
yung walang periodo, yung mga 5-6 years.
5-6-7 years yan.
Depende sa negotiation yan.
Okay.
Pwede tayong humingi pa ng mas malaki, mas matagal-tagal na.
Si Kado is preparing our wheel of wisdom, no? Kaya he's not with us. But kanina nga mahina ang audio niya, kaya yung other of our viewers are suggesting that he adjust his microphone, no? And let me see, may natutunan na naman ako kay Kaado. NATO, no action, talk only. Okay.
I like it.
Okay. So let's move on to the other.
I like it.
You can depend on Kaado for the puns that spices up the discussion. Well, again, also we will see ASEAN rise and achieve more integration in the coming years. In 10 years siguro talagang tight na po ang ating mga relasyon dito sa ASEAN because itong Nobyembre, the 5 largest economies of Southeast Asia, the Philippines, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, and Thailand are planning to sign an agreement by November on the integration of their mobile payment systems, making cross-border transfers much more efficient without using the US dollars. So I don't know the details how this is going to work, but ibig sabihin niyan, pwede akong pag panalo na ng Sultan of Sulu yung 2 billions na kanilang ikinaso laban sa Malaysia, pwede nang padalan ng Sultan of Zulu si Kaado wherever he is, no? Ng mga kakabayaran sa mga consultancies ni Kaado sa Sultanate of Sulu. Ano? Whether they are in Malaysia or in Sabah, or they can send to the Philippines kay Kaado. Ano?
I-recover natin yan, Ka Mentong.
Well, in this going to the Republic of the Philippines, by the way, yung people misunderstand. It's going to go to the Sultanate of Sulu. But actually, this decision is only applicable sa loob ng Frances. No? So I don't know the legal repercussions nitong point na to.
Medyo mabigat, Ka Mentong.
Hmm.
Kasi hindi lang sa Francis yan, pati sa Luxembourg. Ngayon
No.
may deposit doon, may pera doon yung Petronas.
Oo.
Kaya meron siyang enforcement capability. May enforcement capability siya. Kaya maganda yung pagkalipat. Dati yan sa Madrid napalipat. Nilipat nung arbitral ruling ng Madrid sa France. At sa France, doon namate. Namate Malaysia doon.
Okay. The next item is what I was referring to earlier sa mga discussions natin. Bakit nakokontrol ng China, Russia ang exchange rate nila at hindi po sila sobrang nagsasuffer dito sa exchange rate fluctuations? Because of foreign exchange controls. For example, this is from the government of Canada itself explaining this to its citizens. No? Foreign exchange controls in China. In China, companies, banks, and individuals must comply with a closed capital account policy. This means that the money cannot be freely moved into or out of the country unless it abides by strict foreign exchange rules. China made promises to liberalize its foreign exchange market when acceding to the World Trade Organization, but changes are being introduced gradually. Currently, the government is using China Shanghai pilot free trade zone to test full currency convertibility and further liberalization. Regulators will likely expand liberalizations nationally. So ang ginawa ng China in joining the World Trade Organization, hindi niya agad-agad tinanggap ang liberalization ng currency niya. Sinabi niya, we're a developing country, we need to go slow, we will trial first in an area, no, yung free trade zone, and so on. So up to now, they don't have a fully convertible renminbi or yuan. Just to back up what we have been discussing for several sessions now about currency and capital controls, which again we did in the time of Garcia in the 1950s, which President BBM can do at some point in time. Actually, I'm still hoping that PBBM will do what his father did. You remember Kaado, revolution from the center.
Yes.
Di ba? And young people, AJ and Kaana, are you aware, Kaana, of the revolution from the center? Maybe po si Presidente Ferdinand Edralin Marcos dyan. Did you ever come across it?
This is, anyway, this is using the government as the engine of reform. Constitutional reform, no? Kaya nga tumawag ng ang una, bago nagkaroon ng Constitutional Convention, and I was part of it, naging technical assistant ako sa Malacanang for a while. I was assigned to the Commission on Reorganization, and it was tasked with the re-engineering of the government. Noon pa meron ng ganito, modernizing the government structure. Kaya lang, every time there is an attempt to do that, ibinabalik tayo ng dito sa gobyerno na magulo, maraming masyadong usapan, no action, talk only, para hindi tayo makausad. At pagka nakakakuha na tayo ng mga project na magaganda, babalitaktakan niya ng propaganda para masira ang kamada ng Pilipino. Yan ang nangyayari. We should get out of that colonial vicious cycle na pagka may sinabi ang ang former colonial master natin, ay, mali pala itong ginagawa natin. Hindi ho. Ang nagsimula ho ng re-engineering ng government ay si Executive Secretary Rafael M. Salas. At noong mga panahon na yun, tama pa ho mag-isip ang mga taga-UP. No? Hindi yung katulad ng mga ASIP, World Bank, ASIP, IMF nila ngayon sa UP School of Economics. No? Noon, talagang pag kumuha ng technocrat si Presidente ay sa UP. Hindi lang sa UP, UPLB, sa Agriculture, Central Luzon State University. Kumuha. Marami ho tayong mga PhDs dyan. Kailangan lang talaga proper vetting at mahabang selection process. So marami tayong materyales, maraming magagaling na Pilipino, marami pa magagaling na Pilipino na sa private sector na ayaw nang pumunta sa gobyerno dahil nga dyan sa mga political dynasties ng mga Bilyar, Cayetano at saka mga Estradas na yan. Oh.
Okay. And I was also part of the Constitutional Convention. By the way, I was the assistant of Senator Manglapos, Delegate Manglapos, Raul Manglapos at that time. No? That was 1972-73. 40 years ago. I was 40 years younger.
O kasi kinukuha tayong mga estudyante noon, di ba?
Oo nga. Oh.
May practice.
Okay, so any reaction from anybody before I move on? So AJ, wala na. Well, go on to the...
Nakamute po ata si Kaana.
Sige. Ana, nakamute ka? Wala. Cannot hear you.
Mute si Kaana.
Si Ana.
Okay, yan, nakakarinig.
Yun. Okay na. Ana.
Ay,
What are you saying?
Okay yung ano,
Nawawala.
dapat ang revolusyon ay mag-start sa sentro.
Okay.
Oo, dapat. Ang gobyerno ang unang umano dyan, umaksyon.
Nawawala ulit yung audio mo. Anyway, let's move on. Biden's Saudi Arabia visit was worse than an embarrassment. Actually, mukhang ito ang universal assessment doon sa bisita ni Biden doon sa Middle East.
Oo,
Para unang-una makakuha siya ng mas mababang presyo ng langis na hindi naman niya nakuha. Ano pa ba yung target niya doon?
Ang target niya mag-produce ang Saudi Arabia ng additional langis para daw ma-solve ang crude actually, para ma-solve ang ongoing energy crisis sa buong mundo. Pangalawa, magkaroon ng magandang relationship or ang Israel at saka ang Saudi. Ayun, isa 'yun sa kanyang mga purpose
Targets,
target niya. Yung pangatlo, kalimutan ko yung pangatlo. Mamaya may notes ako eh.
Sige. And let's go to Kaado. Kaado, di ba you were talking about this Biden visit and you were laughing and laughing?
Oo, kasi Diyos mio, talaga namang nakakahiya na. Biro mo itong sinimulan nitong itong linggong to, napakamalas talaga ng Amerika. Una, itong US Defense Chief, former US Defense Chief na si Mark Esper, nagpunta sa Taiwan at sabi niya, sabi niya kay President Tsai Ing-wen that the US should abandon its strategic ambiguity policy towards China. It is my personal view that the One China policy has outlived its usefulness. Sira talaga ulo nitong taong ito, talagang nanggugulo. Pero now, what happened before that was even crazier kasi lumalabas, it is the United States that has outlived its usefulness. Bakit? Aba, sa report ng Wall Street Journal, for instance, Ka Mentong, ang headline ay Saudi Arabia visit was worse than an embarrassment. Nagpunta doon siya for the security. Unang-una, hindi siya pinaland sa Saudi Arabia capital na Riyadh. he had to land in Jeddah near the Red Sea coast. Yung palang insulto na yun. Walang American flag. At the airport, hindi siya nireceive ng hari, ng head of state, or the crown prince. Nireceive lang siya ng mayor of Jeddah. Another sampal sa mukha ni Biden. Tapos sa meeting niya sa Crown Prince Saudi, Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, no? Finally had a meeting, nagbumpis pa sila, pero yung mukha nila hindi mukhang friendly, no? And things started going downhill from there. Bigla ito si Biden insisted in front of the entire US and Saudi delegation na itong kaharap niya ay tinawag niyang killer of Jamal Khashoggi. Ewan ko ba problema nito matandang to. Pero yung Saudi minister, dinideny na na-recall niya yan. No? When Biden asked if the foreign minister was telling the truth, no? Ang sabi no, implying that yung Saudi official was even the one lying. So, ayan, during the meeting, Biden raised the issue of a death reporter and human rights. And the Crown Prince shot back. America is guilty of thousands of civilians in Iraq and Afghanistan, killing them. And a very large photo display at the meeting venue showing a man falling from a U.S. military C-5 transport sa Afghanistan.
Okay, Kaado, magra-raffle na tayo. Habol, ka-IJ?
Hindi, tawag nito yung visit niya, wala siyang na-achieve doon sa tatlong purpose niya. At saka bigla parang sumama pa ata ang kalagayan ng oil price. Kasi nung umalis siya ng United States, $99 per barrel. Ang nang bumalik siya sa US, after ng visit niya, $103 per barrel. So parang, oh my God, ano nangyari? Okay. Hindi lang siya na-humiliate. Sumakit pa ang bangs ng mga tao sa... kinikriticize din siya actually ng ibang Democrats at saka ng ibang Amerikano na sinasabi na kinompromise niya ang prinsipyo niya or ang kanyang paniniwala daw kasi human rights. Kasi nga, di ba, kinondemn niya yan si ang Crown Prince ng Saudi Arabia. Tapos ngayon, pumunta siya doon at nagmamakaawa siya. Ganun.
AJ, before we go to the raffle, any reaction?
For the
Wala na muna. Okay, we can see the wheel of wisdom already. And Joshua, start spinning it. For the LED lamp, for the LED light, sinong pangalan ang lumabas? Rodrigo Batas o Batas Rosales. Rodrigo Batas Rosales. Now you can be assured of light if Meralco punks out again. Okay. Thank you very much for joining Rodrigo Batas Rosales. Okay. We have actually 10 minutes, exactly 10 minutes left. No? So itong Biden's visit has been a complete flop, but I think it is more than just a big flop of Biden. It really shows the continuing decline of the prestige and real influence over events of the United States of America, over events of the world. Tama po si Presidente Duterte, si Presidente BBM, they were and they are on the right side of history. And we are, Ka-Ana, Ka-Ado, and AJ, and itong hanay po natin na itong nakarang 10 taon nagtiyaga dito sa pagpapaliwanag ng masamang intensyon ng Estados Unidos at yung magandang intensyon ng Asyano, mga bansa tulad ng China, tayo, Pilipinas, ASEAN. We just want peace, we just want stability, we just want prosperity for our people. We want the same for the entire world, especially our fellow developing nations in Africa, Latin America, na for 500 years has been under the thumb of these Western imperialists who are now in chaos. Okay, so let's move on. Kaya nga sabi ng Chinese foreign ministry spokesman, investigahan ang United Kingdom at the United States at ang kanilang mga war crimes and human rights violations dahil nga itong tuloy-tuloy na pag-aakusa ng mga kanluran dito sa ating mga Asians, no? Tulad ng akusasyon kay PBBM, hindi pa nagsisimula, press freedom na daw, suppression, etc. etc. Sabi ni Wang Yi, sa Wang cited media reports as noting that between 2003 and 2008, thousands of Iraqi civilians were abused by British soldiers in ways such as detention, beating, humiliation, sexual assault, and even murder. Over the past 20 years, the United States launched more than 90,000 airstrikes on countries including Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, claiming as many as 48,000 civilian lives. Ayan ang totoo. Bakit ngayon lang po may nagsasalita na ibinubulgar ito? Dahil ang mga bansa sa Asia ay kaya nang tumindig at in fact nangunguna na sa maraming economic developments. And yan ay aaral para sa bansa natin at yung mga amboys dito. Kayo po ang nasa maling panig ng kasaysayan. Maiiwanan at iniiwanan na kayo ng kasaysayan. And the next one, para pagsama na natin, progress naman sa China. Yung isang ini-highlight ko dito, yung China Radio International Filipino Online, no? Filipino Online. Ang headline nila, rocket na magdadala ng Wentian lab module sa istasyong pangkalawakan, space station, ng China, dumating na sa lunsaran, where itong ilulunsad. Ang husay ng Tagalog nila. Hulyo 18, 2022, hindi ko nga matagalog yun, haba kung itagalog natin. Wenchang Space Lab Site, lalawigang Hainan, China, inihatid na sa lunsaran ang Long March 5 BY3 rocket na nakatagdang magdala sa Wentian Lab Module sa itinatayong istasyong pangkalawakan ng China sa orbit. Space pala is pangkalawakan. Okay. And on nuclear power, kasi ang inaalala ng mga environmentalists, tagal daw, milyon ng taon ng lifespan ng nuclear waste radioactivity. Ito po ay isang teknolohiya na pwede palang gamitin, laser. Lasers could cut lifespan of nuclear waste from 1 million years to 30 minutes. In other words, madi-deactivate ng radioactivity ng nuclear waste from reactors within 30 minutes by the use of lasers. Okay, and any thing you want to add about the Chinese report on the investigations into UK and US war crimes? Kaana, AJ?
Ang sa akin naman, dapat naman talaga maimbestigahan yan. Kaya lang, syempre, nabablock yan eh. Kahit nga yung sa Afghanistan, pwede naman actually mag-enter ang ICC into that kasi ang Afghanistan is part of the ICC. Pero nabablock kasi yan. So yun ang problema. Pero dapat lang, para fair is fair, di ba? Pagdating naman sa ang maganda, pagdating naman sa ekonomiya, I think China has 2.5% growth rate the second quarter, though it's not as high compared previously. Still, kung titignan mo compared to major economies in the world, sila lang ang may positive growth ata at positive pa rin. Kasi ang United States nga sabi nga natin, 'di ba? 1.4 negative 1.4 first quarter. I'm not sure this second quarter kasi ang taas ng kanilang inflation rate din 9.1, no? Baka tumaas pa yan kasi baka tumaas pa yan habang tumatagal ang Ukraine crisis. So, medyo ang mundo, no? Yun yung sinasabi ko na-interview ako actually ng SMNI kahapon. Sinasabi ko nga, kung mag-a-analyze ka sa Pilipinas, paano mo ipoposisyon ng bansa natin, saan ka lulugar, tignan mo ang macro level. Ibig sabihin, yung global situation in every before, and then tignan mo ang natin, ang local situation. From there, tignan mo kung paano saan ka puporma, sino talaga ang friend mo at saan ka hihingi ng tulong. Kasi yun yung importante para alam mo ang galawan. So yun yung dapat nating laging intindihin. Hindi yung tipong napaka-myopic ng pagtingin. Tignan mo yung international, then look at your situation, try to adjust. Kasi ang international na level, dahil interdependent world nga tayo, apektado pa rin tayo dito sa Pilipinas. Ganun
Yes.
yun.
Yeah, let me just read one item from our viewers, then we go to Kaado and AJ. Rick C, we should pivot our allegiance to Asia, not the West, because
Yes.
our culture is more tied to our neighbors, not to the Western culture. Sabi ni Dan De Leon or De Leon, De Leon no? Yun ang spelling makakatulong na malaki sa anti-insurgency kapag nawala ang Senado at maging unicameral ang sistema. Okay, let's go to Kaado and then Ka-AJ for the finale.
Walang medyo na ano ko dito sa tama si yung spokesman, Juan Bening.
Mahina ang audio mo, Kaado. Baka ilapit mo microphone mo.
Yan.
Yan, better.
Yung na ano lang ako dito na over the past nearly 20 years, the US launched more than 90,000 airstrikes on countries, including Afghanistan, Iraq, and Syria, claiming as many as 48,000 civilian lives. At saka alam naman natin from our past discussions na nag-spend ang Amerika ng more than $7 trillion for the past 20 years panggigera lamang. No? This is total irresponsibility and this is adding to their isolation. Yung mga tao, nabisto na sila. At saka may option Nagbukas na ang China ng Belt and Road Initiative. Meron na silang plan B. If I may more accurately say, plan C. Plan C as in China.
Okay. Kaado, I just noted dito sa Facebook, sabi ni Lorraine Badoy, to your article that has come out sa ACJ now, totally agree. And Teresita Baltasar says, and get rid of their unnecessary, extravagant, and luxurious building in BGC. Let's go to Ka-Ana for the Ka-AJ for the finale. Ka-AJ,
Yes
any
po,
topics that we discussed, your last comment.
Yes po. Regarding the most recent topic about yung investigating the UK-US war crimes, it's very unbelievable that 21st century and they're still committing these crimes. Parang di mo lang maintindihan na parang because they want to make America great again, they still continue to,
Yes,
grabe yung ginagawa nila.
Parang
Okay.
ano lang yan,
Yes,
AJ.
Ana.
Parang dito lang yan sa Pilipinas. 21st century na, yung long and lasting hanggang ngayon, insurgency andyan pa rin. Hindi natin maintindihan bakit, 'di ba? Parang ganun din yan. Oo.
Because we were still under the thumb of the Americans until President Duterte came in and now PBBM. The process will take 2 more terms siguro kay PBBM and kay Sara or somebody else who will take the same independent position on our international relations. So final word from anyone. It's now 8 o'clock exactly.
Nanood ako nung Reina de las Indias, the Queen of the Indies. Yung pagpunta ng mga Espanyol sa New World noon ay nagulat ako dahil ang nagrereklamo rin yung mga tao kung bakit ang mga Espanyol at ang mga kolonyal ay sa gamit panggera ang pinag-iigi at hindi yung ikabubuti ng society. No? Nagulat ako na mention doon So yun lang, napansin ko lang na hanggang ngayon, pareho pa rin ang mindset ng mga colonial masters, no?
Okay.
Panggugupo, panggigipit ng mga developing countries.
Okay, the honor of the last word from Ka-Ana.
Oo, ang ano ko lang is, yung i-discuss natin sa Sunday, yung made in Malacanang. Kasi nag-generate siya ngayon ng mga mga usapan sa social media. Ako nag-post ako dyan So tignan natin ko, kasi lalo na kayong dalawa, ni Kaado at Ka Mentong. Kasi
Yeah.
mas may alam kayo tungkol sa panahon na yan. Para
Okay.
bigyan natin ng perspektibo yan sa Sunday. Kasi may Sunday program tayo from 8 to 10 a.m.
That's right.
O para kami ni AJ.
By the way, malapit na siguro mabalik tayo sa radyo, no? Just
Good. That's a
few more
good
days siguro. And Ka Diyos, magpakita ka naman para magpaalam ka. Ka Diyos, are you there?
Hello. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you, but I don't see your image.
Yeah, hello. Please like, subscribe, follow us on TikTok, Twitter, and Facebook.
Okay. Gusto ko marinig lahat before we end. Si Ka AJ ulit. Last word, Ka AJ.
Yes po, marami pong salamat ulit sa pagtangkilik sa episode namin tonight. Abangan po natin on Monday ang SONA ng ating bagong Pangulo. Ayan, so Ma'am Ana, balita ko, in-invite ka ng SMNI, so see you.
Okay, thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you
Good night.
po.
Have a good week ahead of you. Take care. Nandyan na naman
Have a
ang
good
COVID.
week.
Okay.
Thank you.